Hi, and welcome back to Fool Me Once, a show where we talk about the kind of impact your digital devices have on your life. But before we get there, let's take a moment to talk about work. How many times have you found yourself scrolling through your newsfeed when you should actually be working? You opened your phone to check a notification only to instinctively open up Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, BBC News, and get sucked back in again. Soon, 30 minutes have passed and you are none the wiser. But when your boss walks by, you quickly but calmly put your phone away and get back to work, pretending that you've been working for the last 30 minutes rather than watching your favorite Fifth Estate video. You are only human, and to be human is to get lost in your digital devices. But since when do you lose time like that? How did it happen, and were you aware of what happened to begin with? This is digital imperialism in action. Digital imperialism is a plan of expansion into the digital space. The execution is aimed to turn more of our behavior into data, which will then be captured, processed, and sold. Our personal data is extracted and exploited by multinational companies such as Facebook and Google for profit. They create, manipulate, and exploit digital policies, or the lack thereof, to make these profits. Now, in order for digital imperialism to exist, data must be extracted. But what exactly is data and how is it extracted? To start, we need to examine what data is and why multinational companies want it. Let's say you are writing your to-do list for the day. So, what do I have to do today? Well, let me see. Well, first, I need to explain digital imperialism to you, then I need to pass by Carrefour, can't forget to pick up my clothes from the Fundi Wanguo, and finally, I need to send money to my Chama group. This list, as brief as it may be, is not data. But if I take a picture of it, it becomes data. If I upload this picture to my Google Drive, it becomes data. If I were to type out this list on Google Keep, that's data too. You see, data is not merely the information we upload to these services. It goes beyond the tweet we share and the photos we upload and the videos we watch. Data also includes how we interact with these services as well. It is not just about the videos you watch, but how you watch them. It involves how long you watch them for, whether or not you scroll through the comments as you watch, whether you like, comment, or subscribe, or even whether or not you switch to another website to look up the thing you've just learned. Data also includes the predictions that can be made from your activities. If, for example, you spend an hour looking up a place to order dinner, Google can predict that you are hungry and show you relevant content, such as which restaurants are near you and which ones offer delivery. In other words, data is not just what you share with internet service providers. Data is also how you use their platforms, as well as how that information can be used to make the service providers bucket loads of money. But data in and of itself isn't valuable any more than oil in and of itself is valuable. Oil is only valuable if it has a purpose. Before the wide adoption of cars, the people that would find crude oil in their backyards would curse their luck when they struck oil. But now, well, just look at how car companies fight to keep their right to extract oil. Equally, data is only valuable when it is useful. This seems simple enough, but what does useful data even mean? Well, think of data like the alphabet. When companies receive all this data, it's all jumbled up like this. So first things first, they have to put it in order. But this doesn't tell you anything about what that data means. It still makes as little sense as it did before, only now it is somewhat ordered. So how do you make sense of the alphabet? By making words. Then these words create sentences. Then these sentences create novels, and these novels, packaged with meaning and insight, are then sold. The same thing happens with data. Big tech companies receive data in its raw form and then use algorithms, which are a set of processes and rules, to extract meaning from the data, synthesize the different pieces of it together, and sell this insight to third parties. Now, Here's where it gets cool if you already believe your choices are not always your own choices. Having observed you, these companies can guess what you will do next. That is, they can guess pretty accurately how you will behave in the future. For example, Facebook can determine with 60% accuracy whether a couple will break up. These predictions are why data is useful. These predictions are why data has value. It lets advertisers know who will buy their product, when they will buy their product, and what they will buy. These predictions is how digital imperialists make their money. In 2020 alone, Google made $146.2 billion from advertising, whereas Facebook made $84.2 billion from advertising. That's 97% of its revenue. So data and continued access to it is absolutely essential to digital imperialism. But how do you convince everyone else, that is the people whose data you want to take, that data simply exists for the taking? Well, you simply say so. Well, what are these social norms then? There are 4 of them. First, that data exists for the taking. Data, a resource like any other, exists to be extracted, exploited, and processed. At least this is what the digital imperialists need us to believe. In framing data as a naturally occurring resource, you obscure where data comes from, and you hide its value. At least this is what happened to our ancestors in the colonial age. They had their land stolen from them before they understood how much the colonizers valued it. And by the time our ancestors understood what this value was, it was too late. Our land was already gone and its value had already been lost to us. In a similar vein, our social lives do not feel like they have value for others. Their value is very personal and rarely monetary. But once it is turned into data as we interact with it on the internet, it becomes an immense source of wealth. However, for this value to exist, data has to exist as a natural resource, there for the taking. When a facial recognition software company called Clearview AI was ordered to stop extracting people's photos from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube for their database, they claimed that they had a right to that data, a right to extract it, harvest it, and sell it to their clients. So by insisting that data exists for the taking and that it is a natural resource, it will not only be extracted, but extracted at a lower cost. This is because digital imperialists don't have to pay premiums for the right to extract this resource. After all, data exists for the taking. Low costs thus help make the digital imperialists a lot more money. This is what happened to rubber in the Congo, to diamonds in South Africa, and land everywhere else. So, let's now move on to consider the second norm. Digital imperialists argue that in turn for this data, digital imperialists will enable connection. Let's face it, to be human is to desire meaningful connection. Connection with all the world's information, organized just for us, connection with each other, and connection with businesses and services. And the digital imperialists exploit this base desire. In a June 2016 internal memo that was later discounted, Andrew Bosworth, a Facebook vice president, posted, "We connect people, period. That's why all the work we do in growth is justified. All the questionable contact importing practices, all the subtle language that helps people stay searchable by friends, all of the work we do to bring more communication in, the work we will likely have to do in China someday, all of it." Put simply, the promise of connectivity is an illusion. They want your data, and connecting you to people, information, and services is how they get your data. The third social norm they established is that everything can be data. Every experience, every question, every bodily function can be turned into data. And I'm not kidding about bodily functions either. There are applications that track things like how much water you take or the length of your last period. And let's not forget everyone's favorite new toy, smartwatches and activity trackers. These applications and devices have done the impossible. They have turned every movement or action into data that can be processed and sold. With these devices, everything can be data and everything will be. The fourth and final social norms digital imperialists established is personalization. Every website you visit will at some point ask you to accept their use of cookies to personalize your experience. But what does this mean? It means that the ads that you are shown are just for you. Sometimes it means that the content you are shown is curated just for you. And because it's nice to have something that's just yours, we go along with it. But what do we have to give up in exchange for these personalized internet services? Well, whereas traditional imperialists claimed that they offered civility in exchange for resource extraction and exploitation, digital imperialists offer personalized internet experience in exchange for our data. Both suggest that this exchange is free, fair, and ultimately good. With time, however, we learned that what they presented as civility meant erosion, erasure, and oppression. So what does personalization mean for us now? Is it the free, fair, and good thing the digital imperialists claim it is? Is it good for everyone to have something that is just theirs? I mean, life already exists this way. We are the protagonists of our own stories, so our lives are already highly personalized. But the internet was supposed to be different. It was a place where we could all come together and see the exact same news, the exact same pictures, at the exact same time and contexts. Now with personalization, this is no longer the case. Everyone is getting everything personalized, which means it's very difficult to have a common understanding anymore. And while the absence of a common understanding has been dangerous for our democracies, the digital imperialists don't seem to care. And this is because personalization makes it easier to take our data, to use our lives to make profits for tech conglomerates. And when combined with the other norms, that data exists for the taking, that they provide connection, and that sharing is a natural order of things, you will get what we call digital imperialism. Now, at present, digital imperialism is a metaphor, a symbol to forecast the future, but soon this metaphor may become an imperial reality. In 2013, when Snowden clued in the world on how much information internet companies had been collecting on their users, the metaphor slipped. In 2016, when Cambridge Analytica was busted for election interference using Facebook's predictive models, the metaphor slipped even further, all revealing the reality to which we may soon find ourselves trapped. Soon, we may live in a world where any of these companies say jump and we will all ask how high. Next time, we will begin to explore this impact on one of our most precious resources, our attention. Thank you for watching, and remember, they're watching and learning, but are we?